there is one topic we only talk about behind closed doors. It's a topic that can feel so unsafe that just talking about it can jeopardize our jobs, our relationships, and our well-being. It's talking about our bad bosses. Our bad boss wounds are likely one of the most undiagnosed and prevalent forms of trauma because we've kept them in the shadows until today. I've spent the last 2 decades running leadership development in-house, then founding a leadership and organizational design firm where I've coached and developed thousands of leaders at big public companies from tech, beauty, Wall Street, publishing, to nonprofits and startups. And while these are very diverse workplaces, the senior leaders who brought me on to help develop their leaders all shared the same frustration. Why can't I get stronger results and accountability from my teams? Those leaders on their teams I was sent to develop, they wanted to learn. They wanted to learn how to deal with their bad bosses. Do these sound familiar? Being consistently undermined, micromanaged, not being able to say no or push back, bosses with big yet fragile egos who dismiss your ideas and expertise. And the list got worse from there, yelling and cursing in meetings, backstabbing, taking credit for their ideas, and making them work with such intensity and pressure that they were getting sick and having marital issues. And I wasn't just seeing the pattern in my work. I too was healing from my own bad boss wound. As somebody who teaches leadership, I became deeply concerned and curious. Why do we have so many bad bosses? Do bad boss behaviors start early? Freud, potty training, causing us to work so hard, step on so many people's backs to achieve the ultimate status symbol, that private bathroom attached to your executive office. The research is clear, no, it doesn't start early. We built bad bosses at work. The pressure that comes with power neurologically changes our brains. Power diminishes inhibitions in the prefrontal cortex, causing a decline in empathy for others. While empathy declines, we do see increases in the brain, a rise in impulsiveness and overconfidence in oneself. UC Berkeley psychologist Dr. Keltzner's studies of power over 2 decades showed that power causes such a negative change in impulsiveness, risk awareness, and perspective taking that people act as if they have suffered a traumatic brain injury. Now, dump some chronic stress on that boss brain, and that prefrontal cortex, which governs our judgment and our ability to control our emotions, you might say our brains short circuit. So much so that one day when we see our bad bosses, we're actually looking in our own mirror. The pressure that comes with leadership changes us, all of us, not just our bosses. It's a pattern I've studied in the leaders I've worked with over the last 2 decades. And it looks a little something like this. Let's meet 4 characters. The presider, look at you. Strong, visionary, everyone looking up to you. As a presider, I stay just far enough above the action that when things go wrong, my hands aren't dirty. The upholder, you work so hard to protect us. It is visible and critical to our survival. As an upholder, nothing gets through me. I keep you safe from making mistakes and progress. The executor, you do not miss a beat. You are close to perfection. As an executor, move over. I'm swooping in to help you do your job with precision and a heavy dose of micromanagement. And the disruptor, full of life, ideas, possibilities. You are the life force that keeps us aware and ahead. As a disruptor, woo, how exciting, look over there. Wait, forget that, I'm going over here. Leaving you with a trail of overwork and chaos. How many of you are already starting to think about people in your lives who might remind you of these characters? And how many of you could imagine that every so often it might be possible that you could fit in one of these boxes? The choice of the squirrel was not random. I've been called squirrel. We've been putting on these leadership suits like an armor to protect us from some of our greatest fears. The fear of failure, of losing our jobs, and being seen as not good enough, which are very real. As a leader, you've been expected to be all-knowing when the future has always been a game of chance. So no wonder, like the squirrel, we frantically chase the impossible, certainty. You've been expected to be all-knowing, you've been expected to be all-knowing, to take risks, to be innovative, but don't be wrong. No wonder why you swooped in like the hawk or very cautious like the beaver. You had to be the one with the right answer. You were expected to be above the rest, but maybe it wasn't that promotion that isolated you. Maybe like the lion, you felt you had to keep some distance to maintain that leadership position. And let's just say you're the one who had all the best qualities of a great boss. Culture always wins. You know that saying, culture eats strategy? Yeah, well, it eats our individuality at work too. To survive, we've conformed. And what we've conformed to is a negative form of power, the type of power that rewired our brains, things that you've likely seen leaders do. Controlling information as power, manipulating the narrative for their own gain, and causing scarcity by withholding resources and your job security. But here's the good news. From my research and working with thousands of leaders, I discovered there's a way out of this bad boss trap. It's by tapping into a different form of power, what I call pivot power. Pivot power isn't scarce, it's not hoarded, it's meant to be shared. And you can activate it in 3 moves. 1, you get connected. You get out of that leadership tower and you place yourself in the most powerful position you can be in, the center of the field. You get in the mix, you lead in community with your team, and you ask for help. 2, you get perspective. When we're stressed, it can be really hard to tell what the best path forward is. But when you lead with pivot power, you don't have to wear one hat anymore. You get the perspective that comes from wearing a variety of leadership hats, from being a curious listener, architect, facilitator, coach, because having more perspective, seeing more possibilities, now that is powerful. And 3rd, you get options. When you see things from one perspective, it can be really difficult to know what the best choice is. When you get options, you get to make that next best decision, the thing that keeps you going. We call that the pivot play. Let me give you an example from my own business. Typical of a startup, we needed to scale, so I did what founders do. I worked even harder. Not only was it not sustainable, but I knew there had to be a better way, so I asked for help. I put on the hat of curious listener, then architect. I asked help from my team and my advisors, and we came up with 3 options. And we picked the one, that pivot play, that helped us keep going and growing. Because let's be honest, uncertainty and overwhelm are pretty much a given, as you know, in our lives and at work. And while having purpose and strategy are essential to leadership, it hasn't been enough. It's been the how part of leading that's the hard work for us. With pivot plays, you get to tap into that insight, that information that helps you make that next best decision that takes the overwhelm and anxiety and turns it into something you can tackle, bite-sized decisions. Because making good decisions, that's what makes you someone truly great. A pivot player. Giving you the spaciousness to step out of that tight suit. So maybe your team can too. And that bad boss of yours, I know this is a hard one. I have a boss I'm still struggling to forgive. But when we become aware of the leadership suit we've been wearing, it might be possible to imagine that they got stuck in one too. We've been passing down our bad boss wounds like generational trauma. When we turn towards each other with compassion and understanding, we break the pattern. So let's come together. Let's tap into that real power of yours to make those pivot plays. When you're a pivot player, you become the leader you were meant to be. Human. Thank you.